Yeah, I don't even know where my levels are at. Apparently they're there.
Ah. Ooh. Where am I? Oh.
Same place.
Okay. See the waves?
It'll work. Yes. Oh, right. Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Scouting Stuff, last one of 2022. You've got two of us this evening. Scouter Colin is over there.
Hello.
And I am Scouter Ken. We're actually in the same room for once.
It's been some time.
Mm-hmm. Back in the basement, although trying not to be too loud because my teenager's trying to sleep in the room over there. Not enough bedrooms in this house.
Yeah, you're gonna
Need one more.
Yeah.
Of course, if I was going to put one more in, it would literally have to go like right here.
I was just gonna say,
Which doesn't solve this problem.
well, it might. Well, yeah. I guess it all depends. I guess. If everybody's getting older too, so maybe the space can change.
Yeah, bedtimes can go later. I don't know. It is. Oh my gosh!
You need one of those rolling partitions. It's just kind of.
Need some soundproofing is what I need.
Yeah.
Well, it has been a hot minute, and yeah.
When was the last time we did one of these?
I don't even want to look it up.
It's been some time.
It has been some time.
Some time has elapsed.
Yes, things have transpired.
So, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, and to all of you out there. Apologies for not keeping up with it at all.
Well, we have lives outside of this.
Yes, and just
priorities and such, and sometimes it just
and it's tricky, right? Like, I mean, especially for me, changing jobs, trying to find the new stride with the way the work schedule goes, and then with all the activities the kids are up to.
Yes, you have the harder schedule to carve out some time in.
Yeah, well, but I don't know. It's just been well, and I think too, like I kind of just initially it was like just at some point it actually became like an actual slump. Like I was working on stuff and trying to manage. Yeah, just the workload demands got crazy. Like during the end of my time at the old employer, and like just completely threw off any sense of work-life balance.
Right.
Any sense of ability to balance out just anything. And at some point that actually became, not just a work-life balance struggle. It actually became like a formal slump,
okay.
And then actually like, summoning, because for me, it's like if I get too far outside of like a pattern of activity, it's like there's a huge energy demand to get back into that pattern. It's just, it's hard.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. So this has just kind of been rocky ever since. And the other podcast even more so. But it is what it is because, So gonna try and sit down early in the new year and like actually
new year, new us.
Put it all on a calendar and be just like, okay, this can work. Or maybe it can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
As we were discussing just before recording, there's a lot can happen in a few months.
Yeah. Like, it just seems like, a life, well, not a lifetime. That's a lot.
There have been some life events.
Yeah.
That have happened. Not necessarily to us, but to people around us.
Yeah. And it has, one such is a passing of a fellow crew member's mother has happened recently. So, condolences, thoughts, and prayers are with the family, obviously. But yeah, that it's one of those life events that kind of hits you hard. So, which is weird because I don't know if it hit. I mean, in chatting with the crew member, you know, I mean, it hit him hard, obviously, but he seems to. It might just be the stiff upper lip, you know, outward appearance to be strong and that kind of stuff. But for me, I'm like, you know, starting to think of my own mortality, and it's one of those things. It's like, wow, that took a turn that I wasn't expecting personally, but
you
know, working through it, and you know, it's the first time I've actually thought about wills and like final arrangements and things like that. So yeah.
Well, I mean, is it today the 28th? So in just over 2 weeks, I'll turn 41, which is as old as my cousin was when he passed.
Oh, yeah.
Out in Vancouver.
Right.
So,
yeah,
you know, it does make one think.
It does. It gives one pause anyways.
Some framing, some perspective.
But, you know, that aside, we also managed to roll through Christmas with the first time in a couple of years of having
people over.
Some people over and some family get-togethers to go to, and it has done. I think it has been very pleasant for me, anyways. I really enjoyed it. I have a funny Christmas story that I would like to share with the listener, if you will indulge me.
Oh, no, please do.
A moment.
Because I actually have one to follow it up with now that I think about it.
So, on Christmas Eve, Cindy and I were driving around, just, you know, looking at lights and
as you do,
enjoying the festive, the nature of the day, and we were driving through some residential neighborhoods, and came across a gentleman who was struggling in the snow, or seemed to be struggling in the snow with his wheelchair. So Cindy asked me, should we stop? And I'm like, yes, let's stop, and I'll get out and ask so I offered help to the gentleman. The gentleman turned me down, said, you know, he was good. He could make it and not to worry about it, but he thanked me for stopping and that kind of stuff. So carried on. And then, ways down our trip, we found another person who was offloading groceries from their car to their house. She was an elderly lady. She had a cane. So obviously some mobility issues. And so again, we pulled over. I hopped out, offered assistance, very graciously accepted, said, thank you very much. You know, I helped shuttle the bags up to the house, and I asked her what her Christmas plans were. And she's like, well, I'm making Christmas dinner. And oh, that's great. You know, it's been a couple of years since we've been able to have these kind of gatherings. So who are you having over? Is it family? And she goes, well, I'm having my ex-husband over. And I thought to myself, okay, not, you know, I said, oh, you know, I said, reconciliation kind of thing, or like, you know, are you guys on good terms? Like, is this a friend thing? And she's like, no, he has dementia, and they've given him medication that, coupled with his dementia, have made him a completely different person, made him incredibly pleasant to be around, and just the complete opposite. and I thought to myself, oh, so I'm like, okay, well, hey, that's great. Not something you often hear about. And I said, so it's like a first date. She agreed. She's like, yeah, you know, kind of like that. So man. I thought that was an interesting, hilarious. Funny, you know, situationally funny, because you don't often hear that kind of hear that kind of story, right?
Yeah, I don't see that being a Hallmark movie anytime soon.
Well,
should be.
I'm given the Hallmark movies that are out there.
That's true.
She's an old lady. He's an old man with dementia. From the country or from the big city, you know.
Yeah. Rom-com for the 80-plus set.
Yeah. He's a retiree from...
Man.
Just love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, so you have one to follow?
Sort of, yeah. It was kind of more of a... well, just, you know, kind of on that same theme of like getting back with, oh yeah, digging into the nuts and bolts.
Don't mind.
Compliments of my wife's mom. So getting back into, you know, seeing people, like, you know, I mean, we did a small Christmas dinner, I think last year with like Grace's family, but like, and we had everybody over again this year, but like, my uncle and aunt on like my mom's sister and her husband had their first Christmas get together since 2019. And I think like initially the understanding I'd had was that, you know, they were actually not going to be doing a get together this year. They were going to go because like, you know, one of their kids lives in Edmonton, but one lives in Prince George and one lives in Montreal. So my understanding was that they were going to go to do the visiting.
Okay.
As opposed to being the center point that everyone came to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, evidently this changed, probably in the wake of the recent air travel disasters that have...
When are you talking about? Everybody made it to everywhere they needed to be for the holidays.
Yeah.
No one had snow in their forecast.
Their luggage might not have made it. They might have. Oh, man. But, so... They, you know, and they always do something on Boxing Day. That's their thing. It's always Boxing Day. So, like, out of the blue, my mom messaged me. She's like, great, you know, they're doing something on Boxing Day. This is the time. This is the general idea. Okay, cool. Fine, whatever. It was supposed to just be like, because they have like a nice big yard, a big fire pit. So the idea was it wasn't really going to be so much indoors or like minimally indoors. It was going to be like a big fire pit out back. It was a nice night for it. Well, anyway, as we're driving up to the house, and like we had packed stuff, right? Because, I mean, scouting family, you know, barbecue, you know, outdoor fire pit. Mm-hmm. So we got marshmallows, we got roasting sticks, we got sausage, we got all the stuff we need for good times around the fire. Mm-hmm. We're pulling up, and there's a car with BC plates. Interesting. Walk around back, no fire pit. Interesting. Or no fire pit lit, at any rate. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, go up to the front of the house, ring the doorbell, and lo and behold, my cousin, their daughter, who lives out in Prince George, greets us at the door. Very enthusiastic to see us.
Nice.
And then her two kids come hopping along. Now, I knew she had two kids. I've never met either of them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they are now 6 and 4.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And it's funny because, like, you know, as we're going over there, my kids are like, are there going to be any other kids there? And we're just like, well, like, probably not, because, you know, this side of the family hasn't really done the whole having kids thing all that much. Mm-hmm. But no, there were 2 little girls there who were very keen to have some other kids show up.
Yeah, mm-hmm. That's great.
And like all 3 of my girls went into like immediate big sister mode, mm-hmm. which was awesome.
Nice.
But, and like, so, you know, they played Legos and trains, and my uncle has a pool table that is a recurring play toy for the kids. Mm-hmm. Cause they just, you know, who uses sticks? Just roll all the balls around. Mm-hmm. So we're chatting and snacking, and at some point he does go outside and light the fire, and then once it's got a good little bit of coals going, then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, you know, my kids want to roast sausage or whatever else. So mm-hmm. Out come the sticks, out come the sausages. People are going in and out, roasting stuff over the fire, coming back in, eating it. We brought buns. We brought all the stuff we needed. Mm-hmm. And then at some point, like, you know, these 2 little girls are like, ooh, can we have a sausage? So then they wanted to roast their own sausages, or they wanted to roast their own marshmallows. And then at some point, everybody has all of their winter gear on. They're just chilling in the back. And I don't even know where my kids found the sled. I do not know. It might have been something my uncle had kicking around, or maybe they borrowed it off of one of the neighbors. I don't know. They're fairly close with their neighbors, and it's like one continuous backyard between all the houses. There's no fences back there per se. So wherever this sled materialized from, like my uncle had, been clearing snow on his back paths. And so there was a big pile of snow, like kind of up against they had like a back deck, like a raised back deck. And so there was a big pileup of snow against the edge of the deck.
Oh, yes.
So my kids, figured out, and then it kind of, and like from the pile, it goes across the back path and then kind of off into the downslope of the yard. So it's not like a tall sledding hill, but, with a little bit of ingenuity, you can get some good distance going.
But it's enough.
It's enough. So my kids, between them, like work this all out. And these two little girls that were there, like they grew up in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
So while their mother, who is like, she's very outdoorsy. Actually, both my cousin and her husband are very outdoorsy people. So they kitted them out with like really good winter wear. But like these girls really haven't ever gone like sledding in their lives.
Mm.
So we spent probably like 90 minutes just out in the snow. Mm-hmm. And eventually, like I was at the top helping people load onto the sled. And the girls were at the bottom basically trying to like tune and engineer the path to like see if he could get as far as the tree line.
Nice.
And it was just, one after another sending people down, and it was such a blast.
Nice.
So
any adults take a run at it?
No, although funnily enough, when Grace's family were over for dinner on the 25th, well, actually it was both lunch and dinner. So it was like, come for lunch, stay for dinner if you want. Well, between lunch and dinner, we took everybody who was there sledding, like all the kids that were there sledding.
Nice.
And Grace's mom came along. So I have pictures of her sledding, which my wife finds utterly hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
yeah.
At least she was brave enough to get on a toboggan.
Yeah, good times. So, in terms of like an actual topic, I don't really have one, but like it's, maybe it's enough to just focus for a little bit on because like Ella over there, once the new year rolls around, she's got to start thinking about her Chief Scout project.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And like she's really moved to do something with, because there's still a lot of support for, Ukrainian refugees.
Mm-hmm.
So she was thinking of doing something in that general orbit.
Yeah.
I got to sit down with her and actually like hash it out exactly what that's going to look like. But it'll look like something. But it just, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. I don't know if you used the phrase exactly in the recording, but certainly before the recording, you talked about that concept of like, doing a good turn, which is, that's a key component of the scouting ethos, right? Mm-hmm. It's in the law. It's in, is it in the law or promise, law, not in the motto.
Too much Christmas baking.
Yeah, too much Christmas baking. I'm shaming myself here. No, it's in I think it's in the promise. Because just running through the scout.
Help other people at all times. Carry out the spirit of the scout law.
Right.
Nothing about specifically do a good turn daily. That's Cubs, I think. Yeah. Maybe that's why there's.
Let me just look that up, because I'm pretty sure it's in one of them. It's in the Cub Scout Promise.
Ah, there it is.
Yes. It's the last line of the Cub Scout Promise, and to do a good turn for somebody every day.
Ah, yes.
Which is echoed in the Scout Promise, Scout Venturer, Rover Scout, Scouter Promise of, to help other people at all times.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I think we've talked about that. I'm pretty sure there's an episode called Do a Good Turn or something to that effect way back in the archives. Mm-hmm. But it just, it really is like and it's funny too, because, and I can't talk too much directly about this because it's still kind of all under wraps for now, but there's stuff going on within Scouts Canada. And, sort of just looking at what the future of the organization looks like, and, I keep ending up in these meetings where like, we're trying to talk about like, core aspects of scouting and the key focuses of the program. And I mean, there's a lot of good stuff being discussed, but sometimes, I sometimes come away from them wondering if, the issue isn't that we need to pivot to anything, but rather that we just need to re-emphasize the stuff we already have, the principles that we already have, the concepts that we already have. Mm-hmm. And the reason I think about this is like, because, just through various conversations that I've had over the last few days, like, especially the last couple of years were hard on a lot of people in a lot of ways, especially between their ears. Mm-hmm. And there's really a lot of just so many stories that I keep hearing of, people who are just having to deal with just the most fundamentally unreasonable, uncharitable people at every turn, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's, the retail worker or our healthcare professionals or whoever. It's just, I've even seen bits and pieces of it myself, right? Like, we got the girls a fish tank for Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. And that was a trick and a half, by the way, because we wanted it to be like a Christmas morning surprise.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. But A, nobody's open on Christmas morning, so you ain't buying fish on Christmas.
Right.
And, you can't just throw some water in a tank, throw some fish in and hope for the best.
Yeah. Right.
So I had the darn thing set up in my little hovel over there.
Yeah.
For days, letting the water condition and filter.
Yeah.
And then, running out to this store or that store, buying a couple fish here, a couple fish there, introducing them to the water slowly, basically just being like, nobody come in here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, having to somehow transport a mostly full aquarium up from there to the living room upstairs.
Up a flight of stairs. Oh, man.
It was, the payoff was immense. The payoff was immense. Just the sheer excitement was immense.
The logistics of it, though.
I do not recommend any of what I did.
Hard pass.
But, most of the pet stores were open on Christmas Eve.
Right.
So I was going to the one, there's 3 in the area. So I was going to the last one.
Yep.
To pick up the last couple fish. Mm-hmm. And, there's just, some guy, and he's wearing a Canada Goose jacket and he rolled up in a Lexus. So I'm thinking he's not hurting in the world.
No.
But he is just, he's given the counter staff just the absolute, worst time over, I think he ordered some stuff for his dog and there was, one thing missing from the bag. And they were, super apologetic. They're like, oh, yeah, shoot, sorry.
Let us get the...
Grab it in the back. Yeah. And he he needed to tear a strip off of somebody over that. And it's really...
Yeah.
So, I think... a lot's happened in the last 2 years, but I think as we're kind of coming out from under that particular cloud, now everybody's got all of this bad mental energy and they're just looking to put it somewhere.
Pent up rage. Because they haven't had a good fight with anyone.
Yeah,
I say that because my dad likes to argue about things, so we just just for the sheer fun of arguing with somebody about.
It's a Ukrainian thing.
I must be. I don't know,
but it's or at least every Ukrainian I've ever known.
They like to get close and talk loud at you.
Yeah, it's true, but well, gosh, I have a bit of that myself. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know. I see a lot of negativity almost everywhere I turn. Mm-hmm. And I hear about it from other people too. And it's like, and I can totally get that, okay, we all kind of collectively went through some stuff the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And we got to deal with the stuff. Because it's there. But, this isn't the way. And so then I end up in these discussions with, Scouts Canada and different people from across the country. And I keep coming away thinking that at its core, I think what the program offers is what it needs to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And what we need to do is not so much, look how we're going to pivot this or rebrand it or whatever else, but just look how we're going to re-emphasize
mm-hmm.
the stuff that we already do, the stuff that we should already be doing.
Yeah.
All those, because at the end of the day, I mean, in a way, yes, we are just another youth organization.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, we're not. Because if we are just another youth organization, we sure make our people dress funny by comparison. We ask each and every one of these kids to stand in front of us and to, we give them a motto that is going to define the next 3 to 6, 7 years, depending on what section you're in.
Mm-hmm.
We give them a law that we kind of expect them to follow, and we make them say a promise to us. And I think, I don't always think that they're really connecting with the words that they're saying. Even when you make it say them a bunch of times, even when, you start every meeting with a recitation of that. I mean, that's a little bit better because then at least it does start to become internalized
mm-hmm.
or at least memorized. But it's the actual, you can say it all day, but are you doing it? Right. And it's crossing into that
mm-hmm.
or it's finding ways to reemphasize the doing part. Right.
Yeah.
Because once that becomes, you driving around, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was just
stopping ask a wheelchair person if they need a hand, stopping to help an old lady carry groceries up to her house, right? At some point, it becomes.
It's funny that it sounds cliche, right? It's just
especially the helping the old lady cross the road, or that's the stereotypical Scout thing.
Yeah, it just seems a little cliche, but I mean, it happens, right? Somebody's stuck in a snowbank because, they don't have winter tires. You could stop and lambaste them about not having winter tires on their vehicle, or you could just get out and push them so that they're out of the way, or on their way or whatever, right?
Whatever that, depending on what they're, And it's just, but just all of those different things that are there. Mm-hmm. In the law and in the promise and the motto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just even the sense of, I promise to do my best.
Mm-hmm.
And, not to, maybe I will brag on my kid for a little bit because, I think she's really internalized some of that because, I watch how she throws herself into school.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, sometimes she, duffs a math test or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go as well as it maybe could have.
Mm-hmm.
But would you have ever gotten up in front of your entire school when you were in grade 9? Would you have ever gotten up in front of the entire school?
No.
With it? Well, all right. Okay. So already with a female partner to dance a waltz.
No. No, absolutely not. I would not have done that.
Right.
Yeah.
And she spent she did.
Yeah.
Right.
Fantastic. Props to her.
All right. And not only that, she actually convinced one of her guy friends to, hey, I need someone to dance with me.
Yeah.
You come, let's go.
Yeah.
And they did the waltz and the jive dance competition. It's what?
Yeah.
I never had that kind of confidence as a
No, I did not either.
grade 9 student.
No.
No, goodness. But she's just throwing herself at it and it's great, right?
Yep.
But all those things too that we, or what are the components of the Scout law, right? The Scout is helpful and trustworthy, kind and cheerful, considerate and clean, and wise in the use of all resources. And really, I think just, being able to re-emphasize all of these elements, just, how do you do this in your life? right? Mm-hmm. How do you bring this to your friends, your peer group, your community, your family, right? What does it even look like to be helpful or trustworthy? What does it even look like to be kind, cheerful? What does it look like to be considerate? What does it look like to be clean? Mm-hmm. There's also a lesson that is sometimes lost in the grade 9 set.
They're figuring it out.
Yeah, but just because, like, at the end of the day, whether I'm, doom scrolling past another listicle on Facebook or I'm seeing it play out in person, right? Like, there's no shortage of people who just have nothing, it seems, but negativity to just pour out on others. And I think, like we live in a world that, well, we kind of have come into a world that doesn't necessarily value a lot of this stuff, but still kind of perceives its absence and bemoans its absence. Mm-hmm. And I think if we can just, put youth on track to be those people who, as cliche as it is, who are there to help a little old lady cross the street.
Yep.
Not like, and not like in the way that, was it Up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guy, the scout that was in.
Yeah, not like doing it because you're chasing a badge, but just because, like, it's helpful and you should do a helpful thing.
Because you get a good feeling from having done, something nice for somebody else. That's the reason why I do it.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good that I made somebody else's day,
Well, and yeah, and I mean that, and like that comes with time, right? Like, that's a very, like, being able to just offer yourself and feel happy for having done it. Like, that comes with time, but just, recognizing the need to make that offer because it's the right thing in context. I can do this thing that will ease this other person's struggling. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I should do this thing.
Because I can. And also because I want, like, for, in my experience, like, that's the reason why I volunteer. Mm-hmm. Is because I get a good feeling from other people having enjoyed either the event that I planned or the thing that I did. Mm-hmm. Volunteered for sorting popcorn at a council level, right? So you're not just sorting,
one group's popcorn.
A box, a bunch of boxes, you're sorting pallets. It's like, or putting boxes on pallets and wrapping pallets and stacking pallets.
Okay, I like wrapping pallets. That's fun.
You have a weird sense of what is fun. But it's that old, many hands make light work and that kind of thing too. But that aside, you volunteer because it makes you feel good. Like, for me. That's my drive.
Yep. But yeah, it's just sort of, I guess, just even like just reinvigorating that sense in a new generation, because it does at times feel like these are things that don't come as easily these days, right? And I mean, maybe some of it's just the fact that so much in life now has a real immediacy to it, right? Mm-hmm. We get, like, why do I get angry when I'm sitting in a hotel room trying to watch a show on Netflix and it's buffering for 5 minutes because I'm sharing a fairly limited connection with 100 other people?
Right.
Why do I get angry about that? Because at the end of the day, if I do a speed test, maybe I'm getting 10 megabits.
Yeah.
Right? That is insanely faster than the internet that I had for over half my life.
I was going to say, did you not have the internet as a child?
Right? Right? Why do I get mad at that? Because I have the perspective of what 28.8 felt like, what 14.4 felt like.
Yeah.
I know what 9600
you heard
baud
what
is like.
You heard what dial-up sounded like.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, I'm only getting 10 megabits when I'm used to whatever the heck I have here at home.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I get seethingly angry about that? Because I've lived through worse.
Because you demand the highest speed internet.
Yeah, I'm not immune to this effect too, right? Like, we're so used to
blazing data.
Yeah, we're so used to immediacy and
the payoff.
The payoff. But we're also used to things just bloody working, right?
Mm-hmm.
You open the Netflix app, you tap on the show, it just works.
Yeah.
And that's great. Like, I love having all of that. But I think maybe the other thing that, the value scouting brings is being able to prepare people to be able to roll off of those situations when all of a sudden the immediate and the just work doesn't and is delayed.
Getting used to disappointment.
In a way, but just, it's...
Or expectations, I guess. Yeah. Things not meeting your expectation, I guess.
Or just like understanding that, understanding that, there is that when things break down, because invariably things do break down, you do not, you don't have to be the person who is trapped under that circumstance.
Yeah.
You can be the person who moves through that circumstance and can even help others move through that circumstance.
Yeah.
Right. And, which is not to say that, it's maybe it's not going to be the best thing, right? Nobody likes trudging, nobody likes, in a sense, nobody likes trudging a bunch of heavy groceries up a snowy sidewalk.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That, in one sense, that's not fun, but in another sense, it is, because not, for the trudging and not for the heaviness of the groceries themselves, but for the fact that, you're being able to come down into somebody else's circumstance and bring them through it. And they're better for it.
Yeah.
Right?
They didn't fall and bust their hip and have to go to the hospital on December 24th because...
Just stay out of you don't want to go to the hospitals these days anyways, right?
Exactly,
now. Oh
right? Like, so... that's what was going through my mind as you see a lady with a cane and you're like, well, if
there's different ways this could end.
If I take a tumble, it's not so bad. If she takes a tumble,
it could be really bad.
Yeah.
And, it's, and like as not, especially, you're out for a drive anyways, it's just idle time essentially. So sure, it's easy to stop, right? And it's easy to help, but you still have to have that mentality of wanting to help, right? Yep. And when you've grown up in it and you've done it so much, it really does become innate, right? And that is, I think, where we need to really be focusing on, is just taking what we already have in the program and just finding ways to, really, really build up people who are exemplars of those ideals and for whom those things are innate, right? Trustworthiness is innate. Helpfulness is innate. Cheerfulness is a bit of a harder one, right? Because, at least for me, but, still, like, just being able to put a different sort of person out in the world who's there to make it a little better than they found it, right? That's a camping principle. Yeah. Right? Leave it a little better than you found it.
Yeah. No trace camping principle, or,
Yep. And that really does extrapolate to everything, really, that a scout should do.
Yep.
But, so, I don't know. If I had to end 2022 on a thought.
Don't be a jerk.
Right?
If I could leave you with one parting word.
Just don't.
Phrase, don't be a jerk.
Don't. It's true, though.
Try not to be quick to anger. Like, take a minute.
Yep.
Recognize your feelings.
Well, and
I am upset, but I'm not going to let it, I'm not going to let it bother me.
Yeah. Well, and beyond that too, just like, it sometimes helps to just, recognize that, yeah.
No. Not everybody in the world is out to get you.
Not everybody in the world is out to get you, but also all of these situations can turn around,
Yep.
Someday you might be the one who needs a hand carrying something up.
Yeah.
Someday you might be the one who messed something up, and it's really, really nice that the person you messed it up for is not trying to reach down your throat and rip out your spleen.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Life is very variable. And, being able to be the person who can, just take all of that, be prepared for any old thing, as Baden Powell said, and just go about it in a nice kind of way.
Yep.
Anyways, final thought for the year. There is that.
Some waxing philosophically for us.
And I got to say, my goal for next year is to have our most listened episode not be an encore episode. That's my goal for 2022.
Right. Fresh content.
Rebroadcast. Not that I mind, right? Like, no. I only pick certain things for encore rebroadcasts, right?
Yeah.
The stuff that I know has gotten good traction in the past.
Yeah.
Like that's what comes
There's
up
good value in it.
Yeah. But still. 2022.
Yep.
Not the best year for the podcast. And that's on me because I dropped the ball a couple different ways.
It's all good. Life happens.
Yes, indeed.
And we just roll with it, and we'll do better.
Indeed.
Or not.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll keep dropping the ball for a while. I don't really know because...
But we'll give it a solid effort. We will do our best.
Yeah, we will. Anyway.
Stuff and things.
Yeah. Unless you got anything else. Cool. Well, you know what? I actually got to change this up a little bit because Scouting Radio doesn't exist anymore.
Oh?
So...
What has happened? Or is it a long story?
It's a long story. Justin did like a big... It's still like... There's still... What's it called now?
Has it been rebranded? Is that the idea? Or
yes. So now it's called One Movement Media.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. I should really ping Justin to see if we are still being broadcast on their service.
Now that they've rebranded?
Well, they've also kind of changed how...
Their formatting and whatnot.
So, it's a different thing. Still a great stuff.
Yeah.
Still great stuff. Justin and his team do really excellent work,
Awesome. Yep.
With mass marketing of scouting and all of that, or bringing scouting to internet media. It is great. But so I don't know if they rebroadcast us.
Maybe... We'll give them a cursory shout out.
Oh, well, for sure. Shout out to One Movement Media because, you know what, still an absolutely great thing to tune into. Yeah. And actually, they're really, really trying to focus on bringing in content from scouts.
Right.
So if you have scouts who want to be in front of the microphone, put them in touch with One Movement Media. I'm sure they can find something. Because they're always looking for that.
And they may rebroadcast our episodes. We're not sure at the moment.
I'll figure that part out. But that said, if you are listening to us right now, wherever you're listening to us, we would still love to hear from you. Reach out, get in touch. That'd be great.
Yeah. Help us create content.
Hey, there we go.
We're smart, but like I said, many hands make light work. So.
Indeed. You didn't ask me the question.
Oh, I didn't. How does one get in contact with a scouter?
We're so out of practice.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, you take a few months off, and it's like you forget everything.
Terrible. Well,
how does one get in touch with us these days?
Well, you can still email us, thankfully. The email address is scoutingstuffpodcast@gmail or Outlook. Both still work. You can leave us a voice message, of course. Go to scoutingstuffpodcast.com and then just look down and to the right for the little microphone icon. I think it's orange now. Used to be blue.
They're just making it all sorts of colors.
Well, they periodically tweak
the color scheme.
Yeah, Podpage does some stuff behind the scenes.
I see.
So
likes to make things confusing.
Actually, I think it was blue and it became orange because like initially it was blue because it was just like that was the color scheme for the widget. But then someone got smart that it should probably inherit the dominant color from the actual page that it was on.
Oh, and given
orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Discord.
Things I don't have.
Links to all of them's in the show notes. And
that's not true.
You can find us on any of those. And of course, do consider leaving us a review. Helps other people find the podcast and gives us good vibes.
Yeah. We need them.
Mm-hmm. And goal for me is now getting this thing out before the end of the year. I got a couple days to do that in.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you out there for listening. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. All the best in 2023. And until next time, be prepared.